Okay, so finally let's start programming some mechanics. And the first mechanic we're going to implement is the player controller. Remember, we are going to be using a top-down game for this, and I will be using this sprite sheet called character inside the GFX folder. We have this character over here. I already split into individual sprites. I changed to pixel per unit to 16, and we are going to be using these 16 styles we have here in the top left corner. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, I'll move to my second screen so you guys can see the game in play. The first thing you need to do is to actually create the player character. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an empty, let's call this empty player controller. And you can reset this player to make it at the center of the screen. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. Right now it has nothing. And under this component, what we want to do is to actually create our first sprite. So my first sprite is going to be just the initial character. So I use this character 0 sprite, drag and drop onto there. And we have our first sprite for this. Right now it's showing nothing because the order in layer is set to 0, so it's conflicting with the first layer for the background. We have layers 0, 1 and 2, so let's make this character layer 3. Or we could even create a separate layer here for if you want to do that, just like we did for the other examples. So it's totally up to you. Right now, for this example, for this top-down game, I'm putting everything the same default layer, only sorting them in different levels. Okay, so 0, 1, 2 and 3 for the player to be in front of everything else. So for us to be able to create our animated character, we need to add animations to this character. So let me bring the animation menu, animation, and I'm going to dock this here to the right, just like we did before. So we have my character, we have my animation, and remember, as soon as I start creating animations, I'm going to also create an animator for this game component. So the first animation I'm going to create is the walking animation, or running, as if you want to call it. So let's create a new animation. If you go back to my game, you have animated sprites. Let's call this one player run down. And save. So what we want to do is push this button and select the 4 frames. It's character 0 all the way to character 3. You have the 4 frames in here. Drag and drop. And we want to change the samples. Let's try 10. And play. Still very fast. 7. Might be enough. Maybe we can try 5. I think 5 is better. So we created our first animation, and now basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to repeat the process for the other 3 directions, and I will speed up the video for that. Okay, and we are back. So I made all 4 animations, run, down, left, right and up. And we also need animations for when the character is not walking. So unfortunately in this sprite sheet we don't have the animation for that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically use the first frame of these 4 animations for when the player is idling. So again, I will speed up the video and I will create more for animation out idling down, up, and the others. And we are back. So basically we made our 8 animations for idle and for running, and what we need to do next is to play with those animations in the animator tab. So for that I will bring the animator tab and I will dock this animator here at the bottom so you can see my character. If I select my character now, remember Unity will automatically create an animator with all the animations for us. But here's the thing, we are not going to use these animations this way. Instead, we are going to use a better solution. We call this a blend tree that basically interpolates between different types of animations. So what I'm going to do is to right click, create a state called a new blend tree, and that blend tree is going to be my idle animation. We can select this blend tree and change the name here to idle. And let's create a new blend tree that is going to be my run animation. Oops. We need to make a transition between idle to run and a transition between run to idle. And for that, what we are going to do in the parameters list, we'll delete this default parameter, we don't need that. Instead, we are going to create a boolean parameter. Let's call this is moving. If I can spell it right, is moving. So when is moving is true, we are going to move into run. We don't need the exit time and we don't need transition duration. And when is moving is false, we are back to idling again. We don't need transition and exit time. Okay, so we basically created our two blend trees, or at least create the criteria for how you are going to change from one blend tree to another. We still need to implement each individual blend tree. So for that, I double click the blend tree and I'm going to have the blend tree right here. You can give the blend tree a name as well. We can repeat the same name, idle. And this blend tree, what we need to do, we are going to use the horizontal and vertical velocity of the character to decide which direction we want to play the animation. So instead of a 1D animation, we are talking about a 2D character, so we are going to use a 2D simple directional character. For that, we need to have two other variables, float variables. Let's call this move x. Why I keep doing this wrong? Capitalization, move x, and another one, float variable, move y. And we are going to use these two parameters to define move x and move y. Those are going to be the criteria to decide which animation we want to play. Right now we don't have any animation at all, so we want to create these slots for these motions. Since we are creating a neighborhood 4, in this case we are going to use 4 motions. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have the 4 motion, and we are going to, in our animated sprite, and bring all 4 idle animations we created moments ago. We have player idle down, player idle left, player idle right, and player idle up. and that is going to be my idle animation. The only thing we need to do is to determine when we are going to play these idle animations. So first, for down, we are going to have 0 for X and +1 for Y. For up, we have 0 for X and -1. For left, we have -1 for X and 0 for Y. And for right, +1 and 0 for Y. So by playing with these two parameters, you can see here the red dot moving and coming closer to one of the 4 states we just created. This way is going to play one of the 4 animations for idle. We are basically now going to repeat the process for running animation. So if I go back, if I go back to the base layer, select the run animation, double click, and basically repeat the same process. And there we have it. We created the idle animation. Let me clear this error. We created the idle animation and the run animation. Better saying, the idle and run blend trees. The only thing we need to do next, left, is to actually create the script for this character to choose which animation to play, and of course slide the character on screen at the same way. So let's see how we do that.